might be a Viking or a Saxon or a Roman, but tell me, do you like 'em? Would you sex 'em? Would you bone 'em? Would you go to bed with King Ethelred? Would you bonk William the Conqueror, romp in the sheets with Samuel Pepys? Mussolini was a meanie, led a fascist insurrection, but does he make you creamy? Does he give you an erection? Would you pork Richard the Duke of York? Does a boner start when you think of Bonaparte? Are you sexually aroused at the thought of Pol Pot? Historical hot or not?
Hello and welcome to Historical Hot or Not, the history podcast that drives the Prince Albert ring of comedy into the unsuspecting dick of history. My name is Aidan McCaffrey, I am not a historian, and this is...
Catherine Mather, and I am also not a historian, but we are comedians and we are horny for history, baby. We will be talking about, history's most celebrated figures and asking, yes, but would you?
We're recording this podcast 4 days before New Year's Eve, and we're probably going to release this just after New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
I did some research, Kath, into where New Year celebrations come from. Do you know where they come from?
Sure. Is it the beginning of a new year?
Yeah. Moving on. No. Have you heard of first footing, Kath?
No, but it sounds sexy.
It sounds like first person to insert their foot into an orifice of someone else.
Yeah.
Wins something. I don't know.
Wins that orifice. Yeah, you can have my arsehole if you can get your entire size 9 up it.
You can't give your arsehole away, Kath, because then your vagina will have to become a sort of all-purpose cloaca, and nobody wants that.
I can hear through it. I can
vomit through it.
What do you want? Do you want a baby? Do you want a turd?
I can smell through it, but I can only smell one thing. Shit.
Yeah.
The first footing is the practice in Scotland of after New Year, after the clock strikes 12, the first person to enter the house will receive good luck.
Okay.
The main tradition is that you come to someone's house with a gift of whiskey and a lump of coal.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to wean myself off alcohol and fossil fuels, so I enter my friend's house with a bottle of nanny state and a lump of unprocessed lithium.
Wow.
Same thing.
Yeah, I bet they loved you. The most unrealistic part of that story, Aidan, is that you went round to a friend's house.
You've been to my house. You see that I do collect a lot of unprocessed lithium, but it is entirely implausible that anyone would want to socialise with me.
Mm-hmm.
First footing, there are similar practices also found in Greek, Vietnamese and Georgian culture. There was also first fisting. This is the first person to consensually enter their fist into the orifice of another human being is brought moderate luck. And there was also first femur. The first person to enter their thigh bone into a regional guess the weight of this thigh bone competition gets a disabled badge.
Is this a real fact, Ed? I feel like you're having me on.
I've gone into the made-up fact realm. Although this is true, the tradition comes from, apparently, well, this is rumoured, no one's entirely sure, it comes from Viking times. And apparently you want a dark-haired male to enter your house first.
Okay.
Because back then, if a blonde-haired fellow was at your door, it was usually a Viking, and it usually meant you were about to be raped and pillaged.
Ah, yeah. No, that makes sense.
Reese has got blonde hair, right?
He has. I was heartbroken to find out that he was not the dark-haired man I thought he was. I seen pictures from his childhood and he was blonde and I was like, I'm sorry, what? No. But, we've come to terms with it, that and he doesn't like gravy, which as a northerner, it was a real difficult moment for me, that. But
How did he manage at Christmas then?
Well, the family stared. People were looking, I'll be honest with you.
Of course.
But kind of like, when a lady's expecting a baby, but they don't want to tell anybody yet, so they just have to say no to alcohol and everyone keeps trying to give them alcohol. It was a bit like that. Like, no one truly believed that he didn't like gravy. They're like, oh, are you unwell?
Are you pregnant?
Yeah, exactly. And we had to be like, no. Oh my God. I was in Asda's the other day, though, and they have cans of gravy. Like a can that you would drink from.
That feels like the promise of the North
Yeah.
finally being realised. Like
In the South.
we like things in cans. We like gravy. Here's a can of gravy.
I tried to buy some, but Reese wouldn't let me have it. He said just because it's in a can doesn't mean you have to drink it like a can.
He said as she sipped her 4th Super Bock.
If only Superbock also did gravy. That would be awesome.
Do you so how does this can gravy thing work? Can you buy it in a 4-pack, like a can of beer with the plastic ring pulls on the top?
They're just singles, and they're about £2.50. It's really expensive.
And is it like a thin can of beer, or is it like ring pull can of beans situation? Like thick can?
So you can either get like a pint can of it or a Coca-Cola can. Comes in 2 sizes. I took a picture, I'll send it to you.
When you open the can, is the gravy just sitting there, or is it like a silly string situation where you open it and it all bursts out all over your face?
Oh, I hope so. I hope it's like that. So here we go. We've got
of course, because you didn't buy it, did you?
I didn't buy it. No, I wasn't allowed to. But he can't keep his eye on me forever. And, I will be in that shop again. Because there's one here, it's got HP sauce in it. There's chicken gravy with white wine and thyme. And beef gravy with red wine.
That caramelised onion gravy does sound quite nice.
It does, doesn't it? Pots, it's called, if you want any. Anyway. I mean, you didn't really do Christmas, did you? Have you had a good time not doing Christmas? On account of your religious beliefs?
Well, I'm a cheeky atheist in that I deny the existence of God while insisting celebrating his birth and indeed his death.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I am a Christian because I celebrate his birth more and with more gusto than I celebrate, because all I do to commemorate his death is have a packet of mini eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Christmas is a whole shebang. But no, we're doing Christmas on New Year, so Christmas was a moribund wasteland of nothing for us, but in a good way. What about you?
Yeah, I had a great time. I introduced Reese to the north.
And tins of gravy.
And tinned gravy. I blindly followed a sat-nav, which took me through about 3 farms on the way to my friend's house, which was one of the most terrifying things of my life. I came home the other day, came back to the south, booked my smear test in. Got to get that done, ladies.
January resolution.
Yeah, exactly.
Get your smear test done.
I always say you can't truly know a place until you've had a vulval biopsy there.
On the 12th day of Christmas, my doctor gave to me a smear test on my fanny.
Yes. I thought you were going to go with vulval biopsy, but that works as well.
Well, the truth is I didn't know enough about what a smear test is to be able to expand comedically beyond the term smear test and the word fanny.
No, that's fine. You can. I wouldn't expect you to know. But yeah, I have recently moved house, and as such, they're like, welcome to the area. Please let us scrape out the inside of your vag. And I'm like, oh, guys, sure. And I hope that it's not as uncomfortable as the last 2. And I'm not talking about the procedure itself. I'm talking about the people involved in the procedure who made it uncomfortable the last few times I've been.
Why did they make it uncomfortable? Just lie down in this Iron Maiden and we'll get the test done.
I'm sure I have mentioned this story at some point on the podcast, and we will get into the subject matter soon. But first time I ever went for one, the nurse waited until I was nude from the waist down to tell me off like I was a child, because I had not updated my address on the system. And I was like, can I put my pants on before we do this? But that relaxed me in order to have the procedure that you do need to be relaxed for. The second time, thank God, was in COVID times. So I wasn't actually allowed to enter the GP surgery without ringing a little buzzer. Do you know Holloway Road?
Isn't that the road that our favourite place, Highgate Cemetery?
Yeah, sort of.
As in, they're both in London.
Yeah, they're both fairly close to each other in London. But you know how busy Holloway Road is. It's never not busy. It's got Arsenal football stadium on it. You know, it's never not busy. They made me stand in the street, call in, and they're like, "What's your name?" And I was like, "Catherine Mather." And they said, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "I have an appointment at 2:00 or whatever." And they're like, "But why? What's the appointment for?" And I'm like, "Well, you could. It's probably written down in front of you, and they're like, no, say it. So I just had to scream smear test about 2 or 3 times at this door before they'd let me in, and then they made me shout it at them once more.
We can't let you in to do this until you have gone into your nearest Sainsbury's local and screamed smear test at the top of your voice.
Yeah, it's like Beetlejuice. You've got to shout it
3 times and then you can have one.
Yeah, 3 times in a public place.
It's the same for when they test you for testicular cancer. You have to look in the mirror and say ball cancer 3 times and turn around. And then the doctor who appears behind you, feels your nuts and says, it's fine. It's just a benign lump. Off you pop.
Gives you a little kiss on the neck.
Yeah. It's a beautiful moment. I just do it for the intimacy now.
The reason I brought it up is not so that everyone will be thinking about my fanny for the whole episode, but that is a cheeky, lovely little byproduct.
Nice bonus.
It is, it's bonus material. But I think the reason I brought it up was just if anybody is listening, if anybody is worried about going, these
do
people...
Worry.
Yeah, do worry. But also
terrible. Sounds awful.
These people have been scraping out badges all day to the point that they don't understand why you might be a little bit uncomfortable having your vag out with a conversation with a stranger. So don't worry about it and have a laugh afterwards, I guess.
When you're standing there with your fanny out and they're asking why there's 2 postcodes on the system, just remember, this is very normal for them.
Yeah. And you know what? Nothing has made me feel less sexualized. Maybe they were trying to put me at ease.
If you took your pants off and then they said nothing, they were like, yes. If you could just go to the back. If that started happening, you'd be like, great. They've never seen a fanny before.
Yeah. And then you worry. Aidan, do you want to tell the good people of wherever the fuck what the premise of the podcast is?
Good people of wherever the fuckshire. This is historical hot or not. Kath is going to pitch to me a figure from history. We're going to look at a photograph of them, objectify them, and then we're going to talk about their personality and decide, all things weighed up, all things equal, would we have sex with them? That's the format of the show. It's historical hot or not. Does what it says on the tin. You can play along at home. We get their profile picture off the eTrothed app, the historical dating app. You can see this photo in your podcast app of choice. There'll be a link. Some podcast apps show the photo of the episode as you're playing it. Play along. You decide whether you would bang this person as well.
Yeah, if we would, they end up on the Bayeux tapestry. If not, then we'll simply ghost them. Ooh. I love
the ghosts.
That you can tell that we're recording this in the purgatory that is between Christmas and New Year. We're both hanging out of our arseholes.
And we're both got right up to the neck are just sitting in disused, uneaten turkey slabs.
Yes, and empty cans of beer.
Let's do this. Who have you got for me, Kath?
Well, today we will be talking about Enzo, who is 90, from Modena. Going to send you a little picture over there of him on his eTrothed dating profile app.
So this is a man.
It's a man
holding a large wheel of an automobile.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell if that's a forced perspective trick because the wheel is between the photographer and Mr. Enzo.
Mm-hmm.
Or if actually, I think you made me mention this in the Dorothy Levitt episode a few weeks ago. The wheels were quite big back then, right?
I mean, I guess you didn't have power steering.
So they had to be the size of a windmill.
Yeah, because I don't know if you've ever had to drag a car without power steering, but it's essentially impossible. I could be talking at my arsehole here, but if you've got a bigger wheel, that gives you a bit more turning.
I guess that's the logic of it, yeah. That's why the earliest cars required 17 people to turn the wheel.
Yeah, that they were only wheels.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is a man in a car. I think he's very good looking. He's got excellent hair. Very thick, well-combed hair. And actually, I would say the fairly modern style, by I'd say mine and your generation.
Yeah.
Like young people today, they're more into your curly fringes.
He's not got a perm, has he?
No, but
Sure.
He has got a kind of haircut that is fairly timeless, but could be fairly modern. It's quite short at the sides, but it's fairly thick on top, but he's combed it very well. I dare say he has an Italian look about him.
Mm-hmm. You are correct.
And yeah, he's just, I don't know, a handsome 20-something man that you would meet on the Mediterranean. Purely on a superficial level, would bang.
Really?
He's halfway to the biotap tapestry.
Wow.
What do you think, Kath?
I'd say no.
Ooh.
I don't think he's a looker. Do you know what I'm saying?
There is like something slightly odd about his eyes.
Mm-hmm. They're too far apart.
You gain points if you're exotic.
Yeah.
Like I sometimes look at French women and think, well, if you were English, you probably wouldn't be that attractive. But I can tell you're French, and that makes you hot. And I think that's why I would bang Enzo, an average-looking Englishman, but because I know he's probably Italian or something, or Greek or something like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely would.
Yeah, I guess Italian is kind of a sexy language, isn't it?
Yeah, I want to dip my dick in that olive oil.
Yeah. Vavanculo pizzeria. You know, all that shit. We're half and half at the moment. Let's see if learning about his goddamn personality will help us at all.
Are you into cars and stuff? Or is it just because you recently learned? Because this is the second person in weeks that appears to be associated with cars that you've picked. Because your main job with this podcast is you're trying to document the lives of every woman who was operationally active in World War II.
Yeah.
But you seem to be heading into a car direction lately.
No, it's not that. It's just, I mean, the one about Dorothy Levitt, I wrote that one because she was a cool woman from history that I thought, well, let's know about her. This one I wrote because there is a film coming out about this guy, and we were hoping that perhaps some people might want to learn a bit more about him in a sexual kind of way. So we thought, fuck it, we'll just write an episode and put that out. We're not beyond capitalism.
And that has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that our Oppenheimer episode was one of our best streamed episodes.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with that.
No, we've not been doing it tactically. It's all been for the love of these certain historical figures. Yeah. I have written about too many men lately.
I did think that, because actually I was starting to, it was becoming too chick heavy.
Yeah.
But actually it's become a bit of a dead sausage party.
It has, but don't worry. I went back home recently and my dad bought me a book about the 3 words, Northern Lesbian Trailblazer. And I was like, buy me that book, you son of a bitch. I didn't call my dad a son of a bitch. He's a nice man. He was like, would you like me to buy this book for you? And I was like, yes, please, Papa. So don't worry, we have got more ladies coming, and it disgusts me how much I'm writing about men as well.
Northern Lesbian Trailblazer. I feel like any 2 combinations of those 3 words you would have been in straight away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Woman as well, I guess. But then that...
If you already have the word lesbian in the sentence, the word woman is a tautology.
Mm-hmm. I like tortellini. Anyway, shall we learn a little bit about this guy? In my experience, finding out about the personality doesn't necessarily make it better, but we'll see. We will see.
I know who this is, actually.
Yeah.
But I actually don't know anything about them. And although I'm usually on it with films, I haven't seen the film in question. So, have we mentioned his name already? I can't remember.
Enzo Anselmo Lamborghini was No.
Enzo Skoda was born in Russia in 1900.
Jonathan Volkswagen. No, Enzo Anselmo Ferrari was born on February the 18th, 1898 in Modena, Italy, the second son to Alfredo Ferrari, a metal worker, and Agdelsia Bisbini, a woman, which at the time was enough. It was snowing so heavily on the day of his birth that his father had to wait 2 days before he could register Enzo as existing. He didn't have much in the way of a formal education, but at the age of 10 he was taken to the 1908 Circuito di Bologna. Shall I try and read these out properly, or shall I just...
Not historians or even geographists.
No, I'm not a linguist.
We're not cartographers.
No.
Yeah, or linguists. And we're barely comedians, if we're totally honest with you.
So he went to Circuito di Bologna, a Grand Prix race that a Grand Prix race that Felice Nazzaro won. Felice was from Turin, where heartthrob and friend of the pod, the Turin Shroud, resides. This experience shaped Enzo, and he wanted to become a racing car driver and or opera singer, according to biography.com. From then on, didn't actually find much else about the opera singer bit. So that could have been bullshit. Do you think that you could be a good singer? Did you ever want to be in a band or out like that?
Kath, I was in a band.
You were in a band. Oh, of course.
Of course I was in a
friend
band.
of the pod, David Eagle.
No.
Oh, okay.
if he was in the band, it would have probably been quite good.
Yeah, you would not be here now.
Yes, but if he was in the band, I wouldn't have been. Yeah, no, I was in a band in school with some friends, and we got reviewed by the local newspaper, the Harrogate Advertiser, the enemy of the North. And he said of our band, this is a genuine quote.
Go on.
From a genuine publication. This band is about as rock and roll as a trip to Safeway. Which we thought was so funny. Yeah. I mean, we were quite gutted when we first read it because we sent in the CD and we're thinking, I can't bloody wait to read this 5-star review, heralding us as the most exciting thing to hit the indie rock scene since Definitely Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So we were quite gutted, but we also, because we had a sense of humour, actually put the quote on our website.
Put it in your MySpace.
I do have MP3s of the band.
Yeah.
And, there was one song that I genuinely did a rap on.
Oh my god! You still have a copy of that?
I do, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I have it all. I like archiving my entire life. So even though I'm slightly embarrassed by it, I have to archive it.
Yeah.
So if you listen to the end credits, I will put in a sample of me rapping.
Oh my god, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
2003.
I mean, I think we can all be thankful that Enzo Ferrari did not want to also become a rapper. Because, good God, can you imagine the decadence?
Wait, when was he born? What year?
He was born in 1898.
Yeah, I think in the sort of 1910s and 20s, rap was at the very best in its beta form back then.
Yeah, I think it was known as poetry back then.
Yeah. It's just spoken word.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, best Christmas present ever, finding out that you were a rapper.
Yeah.
Cannot.
I was only a rapper on one song.
Yeah, no, that's you are known as a rapper to me now, forever.
I mean, it's entirely possible I'm still the best rapper to have come out of Harrogate.
Possibly. If you ever get a Wikipedia page, please know that I will be the one changing it to rapper and comedian Aidan McCaffrey.
Every single day.
Yeah,
You'll change it back.
Yeah, I'll make sure that reads rapper and comedian.
But if you do that, then like Abandoman's fans will be like, let's go and check this guy out. And be weightily disappointed in my whimsical observations of what it's like to be middle class in the north of England.
Yeah, man, no one will like it. It'll be awesome. That's how the joke just keeps getting funnier for me.
They say the best music from 2003 was Franz Ferdinand's debut album. But I think people are overlooking a little gem from the north of England by Aidan McCaffrey.
Yeah, I'll let you be the judge of that. Talking of our youthful years, when Enzo was 16, it was only the bloody First World War that broke out, wasn't it? Although it was just known as the Great War back then, because that would have been horrible foreshadowing, wouldn't it?
A bit like how Star Wars was just called Star Wars until they then decided retroactively to make it Episode 4. And now it's known as Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. But they were sensible with World Wars. They just made the second one too. It would have been odd if they'd have said, oh, actually, we're renaming World War I World War 4 because we decided that the Crimean War, the American Civil War, and the French Revolutionary Wars all count as world wars.
Yeah.
They would have probably added Jar Jar Binks' stupid character into it. It wouldn't have been good.
Yeah, nobody would have respected it. Enzo joined the Italian army in 1917 when he was 19 years old. Likely not out of choice, joining the 3rd Mountain Artillery Regiment as a mule skinner. A mule skinner sounds pretty fucking gross, but it does just mean someone who drives the mules, also known as, and this is a much better name for it, a muleteer. I'd be a muleteer.
But you wouldn't be a mule skinner.
No, that sounds minging. Unfortunately for Enzo, it wasn't mountain combat in one of the bloodiest wars Europe had ever seen that was to get him, but it was in fact the flu. Both his father and brother died of the flu in 1916, and Enzo caught it in 1918, being discharged from the army because of it. So I'm going to go off pieced a little bit here. It is wild that the 1918 flu pandemic was essentially forgotten when you consider how significant COVID has been, because 16 million people died in World War One, but between 50 and 100 million people died in the flu pandemic, and that only lasted 2 years. It's insane.
If you suddenly lost, say, a 50-year-old parent, as some people did in the COVID, to you that's huge.
Yeah.
So I don't want to belittle that at all, but relatively speaking, what that pandemic was nothing compared to some of the flus from history. I mean, the Black Plague wiped out between 40 and 60%, or a third of the population of Europe. The Black Plague,
Yeah,
and and the thing about the Spanish flu is, as you know, it's a fairly modern period. Like, my granddad was alive just at the time of the Spanish influenza.
it's crazy, isn't it?
And also, people were bleeding from their eyes.
Yeah.
This wasn't just like, I've got a really bad cold and I will feel sluggish for 3 months after. Bleeding from their eyes. And 28-year-olds were dropping dead everywhere, specifically 28-year-olds. And I read an article in The Economist about this. They suspect it's because if you're born during a flu or a pandemic, your body learns how to fight that particular pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a pandemic in 1890, and they reckon the reason 28-year-olds died is because their immune systems prepared themselves for that influenza.
Shit, and that other one.
Yeah, but it was sufficiently different enough that the body reacted incorrectly to the one that came along in 1918.
Shit.
And you can and they've tracked that through all the influenzas that have happened since. Like, there's been loads in Asia over the past 7 or 8 decades, and they find there's disproportionate amounts of people died. It's often that they were all born during the same pandemic, say 3 or 4 decades earlier, or in this case, 2.5 decades.
Yeah.
It's grim.
We'll just go through some facts now, because that's fun, isn't it? About
No, I love it.
Yeah, no, because so my theory was it kind of got ignored because there'd been like the hell on Earth that was World War One, that was like visually grim, and then the pandemic is just like, oh, you're just dying in bed. But like you said, it was also visually fucking grim. According to archives.gov, a fifth of the world's population caught the virus, and in 1 year, the average life expectancy in the US had dropped by 12 years.
Fuck.
Some people died within hours of their first symptoms, but according to a study by Brundage and Shanks, it took a median time of 7 to 11 days to die. So that's like, you're well, within a week you're gone. It affected largely the younger population, as their immune systems were better than the very old and the very young. So the virus would set off a cytokine storm in which the immune system went into overdrive. So it was your immune system kind of killing you because it was just went batshit. Symptoms included heliotrope cyanosis, where the skin would first develop 2 mahogany spots over the cheekbones, which would then, over a few hours, spread and turn the entire face blue, followed by black coloration in the extremities spread into the limbs and the torso. After this, death would follow within hours or days due to pneumonia. Other signs and symptoms reported included spontaneous mouth, ear and nosebleeds, miscarriages for pregnant women, a strange smell, teeth and hair falling out, delirium, dizziness, insomnia, loss of hearing or smell, and impaired vision.
It really puts the sniffles we had in 2000 and 2021 into stark relief, doesn't it? Into stark perspective.
It does. It's kind of graphic, isn't it? And
we had Netflix.
Yeah, I know, right?
Have?
Fuck all. They had a stick and a hoop, and they weren't allowed to run around outside with it.
They had one silent film,
yeah,
which were Birth of a Nation, which was hugely racist, and some books.
Yeah,
and as we all know, Kath, books are boring.
Yeah, if you could read them, otherwise fucking useless. Last little factlet, and then we'll get back on to Enzo. It was called the Spanish flu, as you have called it in passing, as they were the first country to report on it, as they were neutral in the war. But it's actually fairly likely that it came out of Kansas. Because what had happened was there were travel restrictions on civilians to stop the spread of disease, but the troops, oh no, just come on through, lads. And they were the ones that were spreading it, obviously. So, yeah, there you go, America. suck on that one. So, Enzo, when he returned home, the family metalworking business.
So I mean, he survived influenza. He got it, but survived.
He got it. His brother and his dad didn't, but he got it, survived it. Came home from war, and the family metalworking business had gone under. So he first tried to find work at Fiat, and when they had nothing for him, he got a job with CMN. Thoughts and prayers for Catherine as she tries to say these 3 Italian words. Costruzione Meccaniche Nazionale. In Milan.
Good job.
Thanks, mate. In Milan as a test driver. He was, oh God, there are so many Italian words in this. Right.
You always make it hard for yourself, Kath.
I do. Can we do someone English next time?
Just find some suffragettes from Manchester. It'd be very easy.
Yeah, I like those episodes. He was given the chance to compete with the company's racing car team in 1919, finishing 4th in his division at the Parma Poggio de Bersetto hill climb race. In 1920, he left CMN for Alfa Romeo. He won the Circuito del Savio in 1923, where he met the parents of World War I pilot, or Flying Ace, as everybody keeps calling him, on every article that you read, Francesco Baraccia. He died when he was 30 years old after being shot down by the Austrians.
Bloody Austrians.
Damn Austrians. He said, his family said to Enzo that he could use the Baracca family emblem. They were very posh. His dad was a count. The family emblem, can you guess what it was?
There's something that would later be problematic, like a huge swastika.
No, it was a black horse on its hind legs.
Oh, that's quite nice.
You know the Ferrari logo?
Oh, I don't. This is the thing. I'm not into cars.
Yeah, well, this is where it came from.
This is the origin story
It's
of
the
the
Ferrari logo, yeah. So if you look up Francesco, there's a picture of him next to a plane, and it's got the horse on it, and that was good luck. So they said that Enzo could have the good luck.
Lloyd's Bank clearly saw that and thought, I'll have a bit of that.
Yeah, Lloyd's TSB getting in it. But there's 2 things here, Aidan, right? First things first, their son was shot down in a plane that had the emblem on it. Why did they think that this emblem would bring Enzo luck?
I think it's like how football fans get very like, oh, I was wearing this underwear the day my team got promoted into the Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
They become convinced it's good luck, and they wear it every game, even though they might lose half the games. It's not like people who are superstitious. It's not like it makes any sense. Or, of course, the other thing could be, maybe the parents didn't like Francesco. Maybe they didn't like the son that died. And they were like, I'll tell you what, this black horse symbol has brought us some pretty great luck recently.
Yeah.
And we're now going to give it to you.
Yeah, we got rid of that cunt. We'll get rid of another cunt.
Now we just need to get that daughter we want cut out of the family will. In fact, we're going to hold on to the black horse until we get rid of that daughter. And then the black horse is all yours, mate.
Yeah, go for it, baby. Second question, what would your family emblem be?
Well, my family's from the north. Probably just a scratch card hanging out the back pocket of some denim jeans.
Yeah.
We are big on scratch cards in my family.
Oh, yeah.
I know I always like to big up us being sort of posh from Harrogate, but it's slightly exaggerated. My mum is a big fan. Of scratch cards.
You ever had a big win on a scratch card?
Well, I actually remember when they first introduced lottery scratch cards in the late 90s, and I think, well, actually, I know for a fact, they flooded a lot of the early cards with prizes. So there was this insane period where we'd go out and buy 10, and you'd win like 50, 60 quid, and they got us hooked. But then they pulled back.
Yeah.
Suddenly all those 10, 20 pound wins dried up, and by that point we were all addicts.
Yeah.
So, what would your logo be? Would yours be a northern girl drinking some gravy straight from a can? Would that be the Mather family logo?
Yeah, I was going to say it'll be a can of that gravy, popped gravy.
With the Asda font price underneath it still there.
Yeah, I'll use my points for it.
Yeah. Or maybe just your logo is as a green whoops sticker, like they used to have in Asda.
The clearance ones.
Yeah. Or just going to keep slagging off your family. Or if the logo is a store worker taking all the reduced items and putting them in the reduced section while a queue of impatient shoppers wait next. You know how you always have like a
Hustle
queue
around
of,
them.
yeah, like making their job more difficult simply because they want to be the first person to get that 7 pence eclair for themselves.
Yeah. Well, now we're done cunting me and my family. 28th of April, 1923. Enzo, he goes and gets married, doesn't he? To a dancer and a seamstress. She is called Laura Domenica Gorello Ferrari, and he met her when he was a racing car driver, and that is all of the information on their meeting that's available. He had, well, I'm sure that they'll sex it up a little bit in the film. They've probably got access to more resources for, finding this shit out than me. He had 3 wins in the 1924 season, but he fell out of love with racing driving following the deaths of 2 colleagues, Ugo Savocci in 1923 and Antonio Ascari in 1925. Both of them were in their mid-30s, both of them driving for Alfa Romeo. Ferrari, however, did like the organisational aspects of Grand Prix racing and decided to focus on the management and development of the factory Alfa Romeo race cars. He sounds dull, doesn't he? Do you want to drive the fast cars? No, I actually quite like the organisational aspect of the event.
Well, I don't know. My friend sent me a video she found on Instagram Reels of nerds entering the World Excel Championships. And the reason she sent it to me is because she knows I would love that.
Yeah.
I don't claim to be good enough at Excel to compete.
How?
But,
what is the competition with an Excel spreadsheet?
It'll be, I mean, essentially, an Excel spreadsheet's a massive calculator.
Yeah.
So I think it's, they give, I guess you put in lots of data points. And then you've got to sort of reach conclusion quickly or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You can do some pretty fancy stuff with Excel.
Yeah.
It won't be just like do some conditional formatting. So this column turns red if it's got women's names in and blue if it's got... It won't be like basic stuff. It'll be like hardcore Excel shit.
Yeah. I can make it all add up at the bottom. What more do you need?
That's it. I actually wrote an Excel formula that I counted had over 2,000 characters in it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was it for?
It was the proudest moment of my professional life. I had to calculate how much staff we needed depending on what type of work was coming in.
Right.
And the only way I could figure out how to do it was to just come up with a thing where it said, if something equals X, have this cell equal 1. If something equals Y, have this cell equal 2. It was like that. But I had to put in like something mad like 65 or 70 reference points in it. So yeah, it added up to about 2,000 characters.
Oh my God.
That's why my friend sent me this thing. She was like, oh, you're good at Excel.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, Kath, I reject... It's cooler to be good at Excel. It's cooler to be into administration than it is to be driving fast cars and fucking women. That's all I'm saying.
Unfortunately, you were a really cool rapper in your youth. So...
I've always got that to fall back on.
Yeah.
Some people might look at me and go, he likes to bury his head in spreadsheets. And then I say, you haven't heard flow until you've heard this.
We've got to launch an attack to get the music back off the shelves of a globalized CD rack.
Everyone needs a trade to fall back on, and yours is the rap world.
Move over, Drake. HG1's finest rapper is coming your way.
Yeah. Well, that really was a treat to listen to. Thank you, Aidan. I've got much more respect for you now as a person and a performer.
Because God knows you have no respect for my comedy career.
God, no, absolutely not. But I've got respect for your rap career, for sure. So, in 1929, Enzo established his rapping career. No, Enzo established the racing division for Alfa Romeo, gathering a dream team of over 40 racing drivers called the Scuderia Ferrari, which means Ferrari stable, because it's a horse, remember. He completed his last race in August 1931, and Laura and Enzo welcomed Alfredo/Dino Ferrari into the world on the 19th of January 1932. Enzo had sworn that he would stop racing if he had a son, which he did, and he began to groom Dino as his successor. Absolutely adore that he would not give a shit if it was a girl, but son, oh no, I'll look after myself. In 1933, Alfa Romeo withdrew their financial support for Ferrari's stable, with Enzo finally leaving the company in September 1939, with the stipulation he couldn't use the Ferrari name in association with racing or cars for at least 4 years, which luckily wasn't to be too much of a problem when you consider the dates. It was September 1939.
It could be bad because manufacturers of things could win in World War II big government contracts to make things.
Oh yeah, no, he could make them. He just couldn't put his name on them for 4 years. So he wouldn't lose any business, but he's just got a solid 4-year run-up to make shit cars if he wants to during a war when they're going to get blown up before anyone would notice anything anyway. Kind of like being put on a no-fly list in March 2020 for 2 years.
Oh, damn.
So Enzo opened Auto Avio Costruzione in Modena in 1939 with the plan to make racing cars. However, unfortunately, the outbreak of World War II got in the way of that a bit, and the Italian government intervened, asking for the factory to produce aircraft parts, machine tools, and hydraulic grinding machines used to produce ball bearings. That, incidentally, was Aidan's nickname during his rapping years. The hydraulic grinding machine.
I think we're going to say the ball bearing. Like, what?
In December 1939, Lotario Rangoni commissioned 2 cars for him and Alberto Ascari to drive in the 1940 Grand Prix of Brescia. The factory was bombed, and then he went to Maranello. I should say now that my car-loving boyfriend is in the same room as me. He's just got home from work, and I'm really feeling the pressure about pronouncing the names of these vehicles poorly.
It's Grand Prix, not Grand Prix.
Apparently it's Grand Prix, and not Grand Prix, but I'm saying it as it's written.
I thought you knew that and you were saying pricks as a joke.
Yeah, I was saying pricks as a joke. There is only 2 Grand Prix of the 3 of us, and it is not me.
You're the one that's being saying Grand Prix, so therefore you are definitely at least one of the Grand Prixes.
I am the grandest of pricks.
But I've also met Reese, and I know he's definitely not a prick. He's quite a nice guy, which means by elimination, I am the other Grand Prix.
Yeah. Enzo was not faithful to his wife. Oh, what? An Italian man in the 40s and 30s?
With success behind him and a public name. Who would have thought it?
I know, right? He had several affairs. The most notable one was with Lina Lardi, which spanned decades and produced a son, Piero Lardi / Ferrari. We will come to that. After the war had ended, Ferrari was able to make cars bearing his name. Way! Winning his first World Championship Grand Prix with Jose Froilán González at Silverstone. In 1956, his son, Alfredo, died.
That's sad.
Yeah, at the age of 24 due to Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Very sad. In an interview in 1988, Enzo said of caring for his son, "I had deluded myself, as fathers often do, that our attentions would help Dino to regain his health. I had convinced myself that Dino was like one of my cars, and so I made a table of calorific values of the various foods he had to eat, types of food that would not harm his kidneys, and I kept an up-to-date daily record of his albumins, of the specific gravity of his urine, the level of urea in his blood, of diuresis, etc. So I would have an indication of the process of the disease." The sad truth was quite different. My son was gradually wasting away with progressive muscular dystrophy. He was dying of that terrible disease which no one has ever been able to understand or cure, and against which there is no defense aside from genetic prophylaxis, i.e. a medication or treatment designed and used to prevent a disease from occurring. He does sound a bit like you there, actually, doesn't he?
I don't know, you're saying I've got muscular dystrophy.
No, I'm saying that you would probably get a spreadsheet out.
Oh, I remember my friend, when his granddad died, I asked how his family was, and he went, "Well, actually, organising things is the thing that brings them together. So actually, they've had quite a fun few days.
Yeah.
Booking the funeral, booking the cremation,
Yeah.
all this stuff, ticking off a list, setting up a note in Google Keep so you can tick off each task as it's completed. So I think you're right. I think I would very much enjoy the administration of tracking a disease as it lays waste to one of my loved ones. You're not wrong, Kath.
Yeah. So there we go. That's a nice, well, not a nice moment of humanity for him there, but a moment of humanity.
Although I also do look, if you've never seen me naked, I do look like I have muscular dystrophy. So that's why I got confused initially when you said that sounds like you.
Well, you are quite right. I haven't seen you naked, but you are quite a hairy man. So I imagine it would be kind of like, when you put a Persian cat in a bath, and it looks quite chunky, but then you put it in the bath and you're like, oh goodness me, because all the hair's flat down. I think that's what you'd be like.
It is actually, yeah, because some people think I'm ripped, but it's actually only because they can't quite see past the hair, and they think, oh, hang on, is he hench, or is he just so thick with fur that I actually can't see the muscular wastage, the total lack of definition below. It's very much the latter.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we've cleared that one up. How do you think Laura took the death of her son?
He sounds very involved and passionate and helpful in the whole situation. I'm going to guess the opposite. Maybe gave one shit, didn't give two.
I mean, she took it extremely badly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So she did care.
Oh yeah, she cared so much. She took it extremely badly, with her behaviour becoming unstable and erratic.
I don't know why I assumed a binary, like only one of a couple can give a shit about their dying child.
Yeah, not both of them, that'd be too much. Enzo's two descriptives: withdrawn and isolated. Which again, unlike a man from the 40s, innit?
Well, maybe, I don't know. But I mean, you look at English kings whose, like, male heir died. They were gutted. There's loads of examples of especially English kings who lost a male heir or lost a son and then lost their mind afterwards. So,
and if you lose your mind, you lose your dick and any other heirs that might come out of the dick. Talk about your problems. Don't go insane.
Don't be a medieval king, guys. Yeah. Just open up to someone.
Yeah, get therapy. Talk to someone that you can trust, and then your dick will keep making more of you.
Don't be Henry VIII. Oh no, hang on. He actually did have a son eventually, so
he did.
Actually, no. Actually, Henry VIII is a good example because he couldn't have a son, and then the ones that were born died in infancy, and he fucking went mad and split an entire religious order in two.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that, guys. We can open up these days.
You can. And I just today actually saw a AI generation of what Henry VIII would look like now. And I'll be honest with you, he looks like the kind of person that you would see down the shop at the scratch cards with his, like, jogging bottoms just showing a bit of the arse crack.
So my family, basically.
Yeah. It looks like he'd be one of you lot.
I've seen the same thing done to the Six Wives.
Oh yeah, were they fit? I bet they were fit.
Yeah, they're really fit because it's we've discussed this before. It's kind of hard to look at portraits of women from that period because the beauty standards are different and be taken by them. Elizabeth Woodville's one of the only ones who I've seen where I'm like, actually, no, she's really attractive. But actually, when they do the real life thing, they're all really fit, like exceptionally attractive, and they do look. It's not like they don't look different; they look exactly like the portrait, but they are very attractive. I was particularly taken by the fourth one, Anne of Cleves, but apparently her portrait was misleading. And when she showed up in England, Henry was very disappointed and couldn't get it up. No, this is true. So it was Anne of Cleves' portrait as the 16th century equivalent of a woman's Tinder profile where there's 7 women in it and you're not entirely sure which is the one you're supposed to be swiping right on.
Yeah, or you take the picture from above to get rid of your chins, make your boobs look bigger, and then put a filter on it or something.
Or you take the photo and then 14 years later select that photo to be the Tinder profile picture.
Yeah.
Being this misleading. And guys do that as well. That's not just women that do
Oh,
that.
yeah. Oh, goodness me, yeah.
My Tinder profile picture was a picture of me aged 12 in a Boy Scouts uniform.
Yeah. Women like the youth.
I know one girl's profile picture was a sonogram. Insane stuff. Insane behaviour.
How did that go for her?
Well, no, 'cause people just assume she's pregnant. So
yeah.
it didn't work out well.
Yeah, no, that I can see why that would backfire. Enzo was charged with manslaughter.
What?
Yeah, or manslaughter, as I quite like to read. In 1957, when at the Mille Miglia race, a 4-litre Ferrari 335S driven by Alfonso de Patago blew a tyre at 155 miles per hour, crashing into the roadside crowd, killing de Patago, his co-driver, and 9 spectators, 5 of whom were children. Each bit of that list gets worse, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're saving children for the last word there.
Yeah, killed the driver. Oh no, that's a tragedy. And his co-driver. Oh man, no. 9 spectators. Oh god, they weren't even in the car. 5 of whom were children. Oh god, they didn't even want to be there. They were there because the parents were.
I mean, the only thing that could have been worse was, and this incident then prompted Richard Nixon to increase his bombing campaign of northern Cambodia and the Vietnam War. It's the only thing that could have made it worse.
Yeah, this was how napalm was invented. So there was a lengthy criminal prosecution that was finally dismissed in 1961. So that's quite a long 4 years. 8 Ferrari drivers died in total, including Luigi Musso and Peter Collins in 1958 and Wolfgang von Trips in 1961, just through driving the cars in racing. The argument made in the manslaughter cases against Enzo was that he'd produced dangerous cars, but at the time, all of them were dangerous. And also, the most insane part of this is that the idea of wearing a seatbelt was considered unmanly. So they weren't even wearing a fucking seatbelt.
Yeah, but is being a corpse on a dashboard considered to be heavily masculine? Because if not, you might want to strap in, lads.
Yeah, I think that having all of the skin on your face removed by the asphalt is the most manly position anyone can be found in.
I knew this one guy, the back of his brain came out the front of his nose. He's the masculine ideal for having done that.
I heard about this guy, right, who had a car crash and he survived it, went home to his family to provide for him and care for him and love him. And his wife left him, actually.
Pussy.
Yeah, because he was such a pussy. I said, I wish he'd died.
That's why a lot of guys on Tinder
just
says, looking for love, doesn't wear a seatbelt. Because women go for that.
They do.
They go for that.
They're like, I want to live in the purgatory of not knowing whether my partner's going to come home all the time.
Neil Armstrong didn't strap in when they launched him into space.
No.
So why the fuck should I strap myself into my Hyundai i10?
I reckon Neil Armstrong did strap himself in on the way to the...
He did. I'm making it.
Yeah, because that would be insane, wouldn't it? Can you imagine how embarrassing it would be to go through the windscreen in space? Because you just have to hang there, wouldn't you? You can't swim back.
When the whole world's watching.
Just floating there like a dickhead forever.
Would be a great road safety ad, though. Just him going through the window. Like then Anton Deck turned around and go, and that's why you always wear your seatbelt, like.
Yeah, and then another rocket would go by and it'd be that dog that Roger sent, and she'd be wearing a seatbelt.
And then the other one of Anton Deck would go, oh, good dog.
Yeah. Laura, God bless her, she'd been managing the operations at the factory whilst her husband had been going through grief and legal battles. Tale as old as time, isn't it? She was not popular. She was extremely abusive to staff, which resulted in 8 of the company's key officials walking out, which became known as the Great Walkout, hosted in a tent by Sue Perkins and Noel Fielding. So I think that as well, like he could have just said, oh mate, I'm sorry, and they'd have come back, but they just didn't, and it kind of fucked him over a bit, because in 1969 financial issues saw Ferrari sell a 50% stake to Fiat. Enzo had previously been in talks with Ford, but he'd pulled out at the last minute due to concerns over control of the business. I'm cutting quite a bit out here because I could go on about all of this. This is a whole thing in itself, but it is a bit boring and it is all a bit... I'm sure the film does it justice.
Interspersing with Adam Driver banging Penelope Cruz.
In 1971, Enzo stepped down as managing director. His wife Laura died, Laura, I imagine, probably, died in 1978, at which point he was able to acknowledge Piero as his son, because divorce was not legal in Italy until 1970. People are just like, oh, you have an adult son, but that didn't happen out of wedlock. Because now your wife's dead, so it's all fine. I guess. I don't know. Enzo died of leukemia in August 1988, age 90. Something's got to take us, right? Why do the good always die young? He requested that his death only be reported after the day of his funeral, so that people didn't turn up, which is fair dues. Piero is currently a billionaire and the vice chairman of the Ferrari company with a 10% share ownership. So it all worked out fine in the end.
Enzo Ferrari died age 90, proving the maxim, live fast, die quite old.
Yeah, live in an organisational role at the Grand Prix. Cheat on your wife, die old. Do
admin for 70 years, then die old and healthy.
Yeah, well, it wasn't healthy. He had leukemia, but something's going to get us in it. Sources for this episode, before I forget, before we get into trouble: New World Encyclopedia, Biography.com, Wikipedia, our old friend, CarThrottle.com, and DiceyTrends.com. So, Aidan, Enzo Ferrari. Now you know a bit about him. Would you fuck him?
Historical hot or not?
This is really hard because I'm not into motor racing, so I kind of find him a bit uninteresting. Like the most interesting aspect of his life is almost the first part where he goes to war, gets Spanish influenza, his family dies around him, and he survives.
Yeah, he's got to stop being a muleteer.
Would you bang him?
No.
Why?
Again, he's not a looker. So, he's not got that going for him, I don't think. He sounds like he's just that guy. If he's just shagging around whilst he's got his wife. Only really seems bothered about having a boy. Not that interested if he had a daughter. Granted, he does seem to have a care inside there, but he does sound a bit like he was... Because as well, one thing that I didn't actually mention here, but what he'd do is, instead of making any kind of, family amongst his drivers, he would pit them against each other, so they were always competing to be on top. He didn't seem like he was a particularly agreeable person to be around.
I've worked in those kind of corporate environments where competition is encouraged. I want to and should get on with my colleagues.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't be competing against them for the next promotion. Just everyone do the best job they can and make the best person win, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I think I'm a no.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit torn. I think the adultery tips it into the negative for me.
Yeah.
Because if I'm banging him, I want him to be faithful to me. I don't want to share Enzo with anyone.
Well, no, just if you're gonna marry somebody, honor that bit.
Yeah.
That's my argument.
It's weird for the country that literally houses the Vatican to be like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like the closer you get to Italy, the more fuckboyish it becomes.
Mm-hmm.
Except for right at the centre, the chaste papal figure of virginal Pope Francis I.
Yeah, the chastity belt of Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keeping that cock firmly under an iron dome.
So it's a no to Enzo Ferrari.
Enzo does not get onto the biotech registry. He's not on there. So
no. Well, fuck him then. Or don't fuck him, actually. Ghost him.
Happy New Year, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this podcast. 2 dates to keep on your diary. February the 9th.
Mm-hmm.
You can see Kath do her solo show at the Globe pub in Leicester Comedy Festival.
Mm-hmm.
That's at 7:30. Is that right, Kath?
7:30, yeah. And then get yourself a little cheeky half-hour break between shows. come back at 9 p.m. and it's only bloody Hot or Not Pod live episode.
What?
Yeah, at the Globe. We've got a good episode there ready for you. And then you can marathon it, because do that on Friday, go home.
Second date, Saturday the 10th.
Yeah.
It's me. You can come and see me do stand-up with my good friend Pete Kinsella. We're doing 9 p.m. the Saturday the 10th, exactly 24 hours after the Hot Not Pod record, and it'll be a whole weekend of comedy. And if you want to see other things that day, just message us on Twitter. We know loads of people. We know the comedians that are doing Leicester. We can point you to the good ones.
Yeah. It should be fun. Or just send us a message. We'll go for a drink.
Yeah, we're desperate for friends.
Yeah.
As Kath alluded earlier, I don't have friends. Just please hang out with us.
Yeah, I'll be there all day because trains and shit, innit? So, yeah, happy Christmas, happy New Year. Have a good 2024. I honestly don't care. Keep downloading the podcast. Recommend it to some people. Come to our show. We'll have a bit of merch. You can buy that. And as always, spread the word, spread your legs, and remember, it's not what's on the outside, it's what's on the inside of the coffin that counts.
Goodbye.
You have been listening to Historical Hot or Not, written and created by Aidan McCaffrey and Catherine Mather. The podcast art was by our good friend Richard Todd, and our theme music by excellent musician and also good friend David Eagle. We also have music by Ergo Fismes, latter licensed from the Free Music Archive. If you've enjoyed us and you would like to donate to the cause, we would love you to do that also. You can find us at ko-fi.com/hotnotpod, and you can download bonus episodes of Historical Hot or Not from Acast Plus. The link is available on our Linktree, linktree.com/hotnotpod. Bye!
We've got to launch an attack to get the music back off the shelves of a globalized CD rack. Back into our ears where we can feel with a heart, not a wallet or our visa. Climb the branches of a corporate tree. See a world where music came free. Mom, where one day rights will be sold, just like the fun of mellow gold. So where's your faith? An exploitation lost in the dreams of a liberal generation. It's never gonna happen and it's never gonna be. Exploit the world because money ain't free. Hey, everybody, get up on the floor. Hey, everybody, where's your faith in exploitation? You ain't got none! 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 But I've got some!